Hey, it's Charlie Craven, and I'm going to tell you a fly that I've fished for a long time that not a lot of people know about anymore. But this is a fly from a guy named Randy Smith, who used to guide for Blue Quill back in the day when I guided. And he has always impressed me as one of the just nicest guys in fly fishing, and a wonderful guide. Somebody that, as I was kind of coming up, was always very friendly and nice to me, and everybody else for that matter, not just me. Um, but always very sharing and giving with information, and just a nice guy to spend a day on the water with. So this is Randy's Baetis, and this is tied on a Tiemco 101. I'm going to tie you a size 18 here, and I'm going to start off with some Uni A-Dot in dark brown, and I'll start this thread about 1.5 eye lengths back from the hook eye. I'm going to make a thread base all the way back to the bend. And when I get there, what I want to use for the tail is partridge feather. So I've got a partridge feather that I've kind of prepped here. This is just a Hungarian partridge body feather. This is one of the browner ones on the hide. And I'm going to pull off, 6 or 8 fibers and kind of pull them out at a right angle so that their tips are about even. And kind of bundle that up into a nice little bunch for a tail. And I'll tie that in at the bend, and I want that, 1/2 to 2/3 of a shank length. I don't have those in a very good little bundle. There, I feel a little better about that. And I'll wrap forward over those butt ends and trim those stubs out. Now the rib is going to be extra small copper wire. And I'll tie that in at my starting point and wrap back over it to the bend as well. Kind of hang that back out of the way. Now originally Randy used brown beaver dubbing for the body of this fly, but I'm going to use some of this new Nature Spirit Hare's Mask dubbing in brown olive. This is rabbit, hare's mask, and antron. You can see the antron shiny fibers in there. This is just sort of a nice buggy dubbing for a fly like this, but it'll dub down tightly, so even on these small flies, sort of proportionally buggy for a little fly. And I want a very thin strand of this dubbing on the thread. And I'm going to use up my bare thread between the dubbing and the hook, just sort of evenly distributed over the shank, so that when I get my first turn, I'm right at the base of the tail, and then I can come forward from there and build just a tapered abdomen. You can see I take a couple turns forward and one back, a couple back, and I'm going to call that good right about there. One of the nice things about natural dubbings is if you've got a little bit more than you need on there, it's easy to pull off the extra, kind of tighten down what's left, get that extra out of there. Anything extra long or crazy, kind of out of proportion, I'll just peel out of the way. So we've got just a tapered body. This olive brown is a nice color for a Baetis nymph as well. Now I'm going to spiral wrap this copper wire forward through the abdomen, right up to my starting point, and tie it off. Then I'll come in and just, with that extra small wire, you can just pull on it and it'll break off. That fiber on the screen looked gigantic. It really wasn't that big in real life, but it looked real big there on the screen. All right, so now we're going to put some legs in. I got to find my partridge feather again. And what I'll do here to make these legs is I'm going to take that same partridge feather, and what I want to do is cut just the center stem out of this feather. I don't want to cut a big notch. I want to cut just the center stem, like so. And I'm going to take this little bunch, make a thread base up to the hook eye, bring the thread right back to the front edge of the abdomen, and I'll put either half of that, you can see how it's split in the middle, on either side of the hook. Now, if I try to hold this right in place, when I tie it down, my thread's going to torque the near side up and the far side down. And I want these tips to come back to just about the hook point, between the hook point and the hook barb. So I'm also going to turn this just slightly toward me and then pinch it in place. I'll take a turn of thread around it and another to sort of anchor that down. Then I can sort of manually adjust those so that they're sticking out on this side. So we've got little legs sticking out either side. And of course you can use a dyed feather for that too if you want to match it up a little bit more. to the olive brown. You can use an olive colored partridge feather if need be. In this case, that natural brown looks pretty good. Then I'm going to pull these butt ends. You can see how those butt ends have rolled around the bottom of the hook. I'm going to pull those down, slide my thread out of the way, and trim those off. And then anchor that down. And you can kind of use your thread wraps to push those legs right up against the front edge of the abdomen to spread them a little bit further. So you got an idea of what we're looking at. So now for the wing case, what I'm going to do, what this fly is made with, is a piece of Tyvek. And what Tyvek is that unterrible waterproof paper that is available for free at the post office in the form of mailing envelopes. And what I've done is you can take and color a section of it with a marker, or you can just cut a piece of plain white. And I'd say this is going to be about 1/2 to 2/3 of the hook gap, like so. And I'm going to take and lay this piece in. I want to spin this thread up a bit. It's kind of hung there and flattened out. And my thread's hanging right at the front edge of the abdomen. I'm going to lay this back so that it intersects about halfway back the body. I'll take a soft turn around it, and you can kind of buckle this material. Get a couple turns on here and let you have a look. You can see how that material will buckle around the top of the fly. I'm going to anchor that down, make sure it's good and tight, and then I'll lift up that stub end and trim that out. This was like a revolutionary synthetic material back in the day. And you could do all kinds of stuff with it. You can make prince nymph wings out of it. There's all kinds of things that you could do with this. But we're going to just make that little wing case out of that. So now to finish the fly off, I'm going to take another tiny little pinch of this dubbing. And you can see a lot of our bulk is already built up here in this thorax area. So this little pinch of dubbing is just going to be to cover that. So very thin application. Don't want it spread out over much thread. And because we've got a hill there, I'm going to start at the front and work back up to the base of the wing case, and then forward again, and end up with bare thread just behind the hook eye. Now I'll come in here and whip finish just behind the eye of the hook. Like so. And then I'll just use a black marker to color in that wing case. And one of the cool things about this fly, you can, or not only can, but should, lift this wing case up, getting off on a tangent here, and color the bottom side of it as well. Just make sure it's all black. Then you can flop that back down. If you decided that that might be a little too long, and I don't know that it is, but you could shorten it at that point and lay that back down so it's just a short little stub of a wing case. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. So that, I started to say something else. I've forgotten what it was. When you lay that piece in there, you want it to buckle around the hook and kind of get that shape to it. But this was a pretty fancy pattern back in the day that would, was a unique use for this material. And this is something that, once you kind of start to play with it, it's super cheap and you can get tons of it, color it whatever color you want. You'll probably start to find other places that you can use it as well. Works particularly well for free wing cases like this, where it's just tied down on one end. But that makes a nice little wing pad on a Baetis nymph. And that looks a lot like those little bugs you find in the river. So that's Randy Smith's Baetis nymph, Randy's Baetis nymph. Nice little fly. You should tie some up. Oh, yeah, I like that dubbing on there too. That's a good looking bug. I'm going to tie up some more of those and put them in my box. You should do the same. Hope you guys have a good day. Thanks for watching. I'm Charlie Craven.